Thank you. Can you hear me? I sometimes don't even need the mic, actually. He was very generous in the introduction that he gave. We're not going to be giving you so much because one of the reasons is we want you to buy our data, right? So we are going to pique your interest just a little bit today so that you come back to us for your greater needs on data. Having said that, what we're going to actually take you through, while there was this whole theory around this is going to be a round table, it's going to be a panel discussion, no, we're actually going to show you some stuff which we thought was very interesting. This is a survey that we run every year at NIQ. We run this survey across 47 markets, and it essentially has around 62 billion from an FMCG business, right, these markets, and India is around 27% of that. So very, very significant. And what we've noted is some of the insights that each one of you have given us. And why does that help us? I think we have a product that we then sell to most manufacturers, but hearing you, we are able to then come back and carve out specific products for small, new and emerging businesses in India, right? Without further ado, I'm just going to very quickly take you through what the survey was all about. I've anyway given you a brief overview, but about the respondents, pretty much, we had an equal split between the small and medium businesses in India that responded to this survey. So whatever you see here, bulk of it is the feedback that's coming from small and medium businesses and not so much the large businesses, right? And bulk of it is from the food industry, followed by personal care and home care, right? And in terms of operation, bulk of you are, been in the market for less than 10 years. So it's pretty much very, very new companies that are talking to us. So it's also giving us a lot of perspective that we need to change the way we approach and we look at new age brands, right? We've pretty much been in the market for 100 years. Of course, our name has changed, but our product is pretty much what we came out with 100 years back, right? So how do we now address some of your needs? And while I will take you through a presentation, right, I will be very brief, around 30 minutes, and then we want to hear your views. It's more of an interactive session because we want to take back a lot and come back with a lot of offerings next year, yeah? So this survey clearly has highlighted a couple of things, right? It's all about inflation. I think 2023, we saw the start of it, but 2024, we bore the brunt of it. And I think every company, be it small, medium, or large, has talked about how inflation is the biggest pain that they have faced in the last 2 years. And what we've realized is because inflation is here to stay, at least for some more time, everybody is focusing on, how can you work with, higher raw material costs. So what do you do? What is the kind of innovation that you will be looking at to reduce your input costs? Are you going to change your raw materials? Are you going to look at different pack sizes, right? So this is something that has come out as a common sort of theme across whether it's small, medium, or large players. Couple of them actually went back last year because this was the same thing that we saw last year. And what they've done is they've worked on a couple of inputs, right? Some of them who went back and rationalized product lines said that it's been very, very useful as they got into 2024. Others have talked about how they've worked on, innovating with raw materials and how that has helped them in 2024. And small players, and it's really surprising, they've actually come back and told us that, they have actually worked on marketing. And I have an insight on this which actually compares to the Gen Z report that we've just released. I don't know how many of you have had access to it, but there is a very interesting insight that talks about the fact that the biggest consumer base today and an evolving consumer base is that of the Gen Z. And these people are pretty much living their entire lives online. And what happens is because you have a plethora of choice that's today available, this consumer is extremely fickle, right? So we've actually seen, normally it's the brands with the big pockets, deep pockets that are investing in marketing, but this has been a real revelation where we're seeing that small and medium businesses are actually investing quite a bit behind brand building to actually build some sort of loyalty in a very, very fickle world. Yeah? And what we're seeing in 2024, what we're seeing in 2024 is, yes, inflation is here to stay, but then what are brands going to work on, right? It is going to be about distribution. And we'll talk a little bit about distribution, especially for the small and medium businesses in the upcoming slides. But yes, it will be about finding the best sourcing for raw materials. It is going to be about product rationalization because inflation is not going away. We did see some green shoots in the July, August, September quarter, some of it going into festive, but we'll have to see how this year ends to come back and give you a view on inflation. You know that RBI is not cutting rates, where the war is still on in most parts of the world. So it is a new reality that we all have to sort of live with and try and learn how to combat. Yeah? Moving on, I think, assortment is something that everyone is going to be working on. And I've sort of talked through some of this, right, which is the same from the previous slide. The challenges of 23 continue in 24. So how do brands actually shake this up and revitalize their businesses? Because 2 years in a row doing the same thing is not going to work into 2025 as well. Today, big brands have seen consumption coming back. You do see large players also coming back, and now it's telling you that they're going to pass on the cost to the final consumer, right? Till now, they've managed to hold on, but now most big brands are going to pass on the cost to the final consumer. Can the small brands afford to do something like that? And that's where strategies on pricing, strategy on, pack sizes, strategy on which markets you focus on and which channels you focus on become very, very important. And that's something that NIQ can help you with. Pretty much the theme for 2025 is anyway going to be around revenue expansion, and category expansion as well. Revenue growth, I think it's pretty clear. If you're in an inflationary economy, you will have to grow, right? You will have to grow your top line. Your bottom line is not going to grow. To sustain, to justify your existence, you will have to grow your revenue. And how you do that is probably going to be around your pricing, around your new pack sizes that you're probably going to introduce, new brands that you might probably come up with. Maybe you will look at different segmentations, right? You might be a mass brand, you might come up with something which is masstige. If you're a premium brand, you'll come out with a super premium, or you might come out with something that's midway, right? But I have an interesting insight into that as well. And when we look at pop strata, which is something that will really be interesting, it's how you vary it by pop strata that's going to really help smaller brands and medium brands win in the longer term. So this is interesting insight that we put out once a quarter. It's called the category, FMCG category insights that we release. And what we saw in the July, August, September quarter, after many months of bleakness, is that consumption is back. Maybe it's to do with the upcoming festive at that point, right? We did see that in July, August, September, there was Rakhi, there was a little bit of, buying into Ganesh Chaturthi and etc. So we did see consumption grow, and we saw that largely in the food categories. So that gives us a lot of hope that things are not as bad as it's painted out to be, because you open a newspaper today, everything that you're reading about is high prices, onions and tomatoes becoming unaffordable, so on and so forth. But we did see the consumption story back. Of course, yes, price is higher, but ladies and gentlemen, people are back to consuming, and that's the big insight that we want you to take back today. A little bit more, because we didn't just want to give you an insight only about the SMB survey, because most of you are already aware of the challenges that you face. So this is what we wanted to bring additionally to the table. You will see that while there are signs of recovery, it's largely led by food and mostly in the traditional trade. And within the traditional trade, when you look at pop strata, it is actually rural that's made us a very, very significant comeback, right? And I will take you to another slide where we will showcase to you that rural is not just, a story that is not, it's like a flash in the pan. It's actually a long-term strategy that's worked for the rural markets. We are actually seeing a large consumption-led story in rural. It's not just, it's definitely not price-led, right? And that brings a lot more hope for most players, I'm assuming. But the other point here, rural is only 36% of the total market. So there is a huge urban market which is currently lagging behind. And a lot of the small and medium businesses, I'm sure, is only working in those pockets. So what are you going to do to combat that, right? Inflation is here to stay, so you'll have to really figure out new tactics. The other bit is on channels. We are seeing that traditional trade is continuing to be resilient, but we're seeing a deep dip in modern trade. And this is something that we want to pick everyone's brains on after the session is over. The question that I have here, and no need to answer right away, and we can have a discussion around it after the session, after the presentation, is around relevance of modern trade, especially in the top 6 metros. This is something that we really want to pick your brains on. With e-commerce and especially quick commerce coming in, what do you see is the next step for modern trade, especially for clients like you, right? That's something that we definitely want to understand. Clearly, when you look at it from a meta-category group, foods are sustaining. Your HPC, which is your home personal care, we've seen that they're maintaining without too much of a price hike, and this is because of monsoons again, right? And nobody would believe that, but mosquito repellents, air fresheners, etc. did very well because we had a great monsoon this year. And of course, the category that's seen the biggest dip is probably OTC, which is a lot of your health categories, right? And that's where we've seen a large dip. But otherwise, consumption is back despite inflation. Maybe it was a lot to do with the festive, cheer that came about, and people just ended up consuming irrespective. We do see that there is a consumption-led growth, and we are hoping that that sort of sustains. We will know at the end of this quarter how that has played out for us. Oil continues to impact the overall pricing. But despite that, and I will take you through a subsequent slide where you saw that consumption continued, right, unabated in this quarter. And yes, rural continues to grow the business, right, for overall FMCG. And this is something that I want you to take note of. This is not something that we share very often, which is that 61% of the volume growth for FMCG came from rural. 57% of overall categories recovered in this quarter. And the large thing is that there was a huge difference between the previous quarter and the current quarter that we're currently calling out. So AMJ, April, May, June was not as good, but we saw a resounding improvement in the subsequent quarter. And if this continues, maybe there is hope that it's not going to be so bleak in 2025 after all. And like I mentioned, staples led the growth because we saw that foods overall led the growth for FMCG, and staples led the growth. Despite a minor price increase, it's a volume-led story for staples. And what we've seen is, staples followed by impulse. And what we mean by impulse here is your biscuits, your salty snacks, etc. Bulk of you probably play in that space. And then habit forming have continued to sort of grow despite, a price upheaval. In staples, refined oils, non-refined oils, your packaged rice continued with their volume growth. It was not a value growth, it is a volume growth for these categories. On the value growth, we have salt and packaged atta. Atta, for obvious reasons, because of the war, the price gets impacted. In impulse, I think it was salty snacks and chocolates that continued on the volume growth. It was not a value growth, and that's good news in a way because people continued to buy impulse, which is otherwise during an inflationary season, you tend to keep impulse aside, right? So, and this is something that brought some cheer to, I think, bulk of the chocolate manufacturers. But yeah, and habit forming, of course, people continue to consume that because it's your tea, coffee, your beverages, etc., and that has continued on an even keel. So what did we see? We saw that, after a year, we actually saw that small players' volume turned positive, which means that earlier what was only a price-led growth, finally there was a volume upsurge that happened in this particular quarter for the small players. Of course, the ones with the deep pockets continued to have a good run, but I would think the biggest insight from this slide, and let me just classify here as what we categorize as small, medium, and large. Small are clients up to, whose FMCG turnover is around 100 crores. Medium is 100 to about 1,000, and then large is 1,000 to 5,000, and then we have the giants. So the giants are anybody above the 5,000 bracket. Yeah? And on channels of preference, we saw that everyone preferred online. It seems to be the new mantra, and it's not just something that's working for India, it's something that's working overall. And this is, a lot of it is from APAC as well, and India is a part of the APAC for us in Nielsen. And we've seen that it's pretty much everywhere. Small and medium businesses love online, and they want to maximize their presence online for obvious reasons, right? Listing is easy. It's a swift distribution mechanism for them. You don't spend as much on marketing, and yet you get a widespread awareness for your brand. So pretty much everyone, has highlighted online in APAC, whether it's small, medium, large, everyone's talking about how online becomes so important. But the larger piece here is on online, and I will talk about it over here. We've seen that traditional trade continues to hold sway in some of these markets, especially India. But what we've noticed in online is not just about your Q-commerce or your full suit marketplace players. Online is also about, let's say, your social media networks today, where the buy button seems to be the most pressed thing by most Gen Z customers. So if you're somebody who has online first in your mind, you need to focus not just on your traditional online retailers, but also on other platforms where you can put that buy now button, right? Because most of the Gen Z people are highly digitally native. They are very, very, self-assured about buying online. And therefore, this is something that you should make a note of. And after that, the last couple of things that we wanted to highlight is, yes, we have shown resilience amid inflation, and that's something that I've talked about quite a bit. We are seeing e-commerce and it's reshaping channel mix. We, in fact, believe, and that's something that we want to discuss with all of you later on, that at least in the top 6 metros, and I won't even go to say top 8 metros, at least in the top 6 metros, we do believe that e-commerce is actually denting into the modern trade business. And we want to understand that a little better, because are people taking business from one channel to another, or is there real category growth that we're seeing in the market? The other bit is around festive. Of course, we've seen great green shoots happening because of the festive season. And yes, while giants lag, small players have rebounded after like 3 quarters, especially on the volume front. And we're hoping that continues as well. Urban stress continues. So while rural is growing, rural cannot make up for urban. And therefore, it's very, very important that everybody operating in the urban space sort of really rejigs their strategy and figures out what they need to do and how they need to reshape their urban strategy. Lastly, we are seeing sequential recovery. Food has recovered. We are seeing home care also recover. Personal care is a little down, but we are hoping with the end of this year, we are seeing some, resurgence on that particular category as well. Lastly, this is something that we asked towards the very end of our survey, which is about what do small players think is something that their customers would like, right? And everyone talks about how they want their brand or product to be, seen as value for money. And it's pretty much something that we've seen is in line with the global average. The second thing is about being affordable. And you will see that India, everyone, we rank far higher when we say consumers want our brands to be priced low or affordable, right? And the last bit, which is a surprising bit for us here in India, because ours is a very value-conscious market. We've known that through ages. And what we've seen is that, a lot of customers today, and this is again a Gen Z phenomenon, right, prefer sustainable and environment-friendly products. And in that one, India has actually outranked the global average. So this is a pretty much new insight even for us, where we thought that, despite inflation, for customers to prefer something that's sustainable and even more expensive, because normally that's how it is, people have chosen to go that route. Yeah? And therefore, what does that mean, right? So for small players, given all of what we've just seen, we know that pricing is going to be critical, right? The medium and the large players are now going to start passing the cost that they are incurring to the final customer. So they're going to probably come out with a lot of small packs and play the pricing accordingly. But what do small players do? Because they need to maintain price to maintain their market share. So it will be about innovation in their product line. It will be about rationalization. But the most important thing will be around channel prioritization. It is going to be about fortifying their traditional market base, because if you're a regional player, you are well distributed in your local market, but also then going into a newer channel, which is online, and maximizing your footprint there. And lastly, we had to bring in a point about research, right? Because we are ultimately a company that sells data. What we've noticed is that the large and the medium companies do a lot of research. It can be internal as well as external. What do they use this research for? They use it to negotiate better with their retail partners. I'm not too sure whether in India we still have that kind of sway over our our retailers have that kind of a sway over their brand partners. But yeah, globally, I think this is what the data is usually used for. It is to ask for more shelf space. It is to negotiate down on margins, etc. But what we've realized is small players do see value, but they don't have, or they don't want to invest in research as much. And that's why, it's very, very important that in times like this, we have a wealth of information that we can then, give at reasonable chunks, at reasonable pricing as well. And it actually brings a lot of value to people, right? And it's important that you look at whether it's a distribution strategy solution, whether it is a product rationalization, whether it's just to understand market share or just to understand the lay of the land in terms of competitive benchmarking. Data helps solve for many, many things, right? You might not have a CMI team that will help do complex analysis, but just simple data helps you make better decisions. And that's what we wanted to help you with, and this is something that we plug anyway, right? Because we are a research company and we had to put this out here. But this is essentially to trigger conversation, and then we can go around and have a open discussion around what you saw and what you think is happening currently in the market and how you think we can help, right? And with that, I'm done with my presentation, and we're happy to have a discussion.
Pallavi, I'd like to answer this question. Yeah, Pallavi. Yeah, please. I'm in your unmapped zone. I'm a company which manufactures shelf-stable vegetables. So we are not in your radar. So we could be very different. Last 3 quarters, okay, I'm not taking sales of anything. Okay, sales has a skew because there's a lot of price inflation. The value of the sale gets adjusted. We don't know the value of sale. Footfalls across SAMT in the country is falling. We have quite a lot of promoters where we try make people eat the vegetable. from a 47 pre-COVID per day average. Last 3 quarters, from 47 we went down to 42, then 38, and this quarter we are hovering around 36, 32 is the range of sampling per day we are able to do. Now, a lot of us, we are in the smallest of the categories. We have one of the largest challenges today is a new customer acquisition. Okay, the so-called quick commerce is impacting a lot of us, okay, on new customer acquisition. Okay, even though the reels work, etc., it's not a consistent consumption pattern we have been noticing. You hit the buy button, it's once, you don't come back, we are not able to track those customers. This is an emerging or end of life cycle we are not aware of. But if you really look at your data, okay, none of us actually contribute to a new customer acquisition. A lot of us have increased prices in the last few quarters. Okay, our sales looks inflated, volumes may have dropped. Okay, good, I see some volume increases in the last quarter. But it's a scarier proposition which we are facing is the next 2-3 quarters, will we have customers walking into SAMT stores?
Okay.
And then comes the doomsday. We will have less customers trying the newer products where all of us are investing on new product development. So if you take your chart beyond your distribution strategies, a lot of emphasis is being played on the new product. But how do I trial next?
And the question that I also had was, yes, you were talking about a scarier reality. I mean, hopefully it doesn't become reality. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned Q-commerce. Yes, SAMT footfalls are dropping, but do you see some amount of that getting negated by Q-commerce?
No, one thing, the silver lining in the gray cloud is the hyper formats. Week 1 and week 4 sales is enterprising.
Nice. Okay.
So I believe a lot of people who are not using quick commerce or maybe using quick commerce a lot have started moving back to the pre-COVID era where they are doing a monthly shopping on the very large format stores wherever we are catering. So our large format store average sales month on month is showing an increase. But it's again clubbing into a few weeks, and it's also
not consistent.
It's not a question of consistent. It's a question things are looking better because I don't think the quick commerce is going to be end game. It's just going to be I want a milk, I pick up a couple of more products, but I still go on a month end to shop in my favorite hyper supermarket, which is close by. So to make up a decision which side the coin will which side the cat will land is still a mystery to people like us who are actually in the business of selling.
So the next question therefore is, by an additional channel coming in, you're not actually seeing category growth, right? I mean, you're seeing cannibalization, but you're not...
No, I didn't mean cannibalization. I'm trying to tell you there were two parts of your story. One was ultimate sale. The other one was new product development and new customer acquisition. So we are facing challenges in the category growth also.
Any other views?
Okay. So, Pallavi, I'm Vijay Tinwani. I represent Hyphen Foods, and we are a frozen food brand. Okay. Now, in continuation to what he added, okay, what we see here is that in top 6 metros, okay, there is a consolidation which is happening in the hyper format stores also. That is very important, okay, and this is across your major retailers. Okay, maybe you can pick up any retailer, okay. The second most important thing is that while e-commerce is adding to the overall business value and volumes also, we being an emerging brand, what is important for us is a touch and feel of the product. Plus, when we are into frozen, okay, there is a clear myth that these products are not healthy. You add preservatives and a couple of more stuff to it, okay. So what is important for us to ensure that we are doing wet samplings, okay. So the customers are coming, they are trying out the products, okay. We kind of elaborate to them that these are the things which are on the good side of the product rather than the myths which are there in the market. So this will clearly help. So when it comes to overall business per se, modern trade is something which is very important. While QCOM, where you have kind of mentioned multiple times in your presentation, also Gen Z, this is a very familiar TG target group which we kind of see where business has to come. Why? Because of the convenience. Okay, because of that impulse last minute that hey, somebody is coming. Okay, I have a party at home and maybe I'll order. In 3-4 minutes, my stuff is ready. Okay, so these are the things. But yes, modern trade is something in top six that is not growing. But what we see is that your tier two and tier three they are growing. For example, if not Bangalore, but your Mysore, your Hubli, your Belgaum, these cities or maybe these towns are picking up.
I'm probably the anomaly in the room here because we're a D2C brand, 3-year-old brand, and we started retail 6 months ago. So when your base is zero, everything is growth. So for us, it's been phenomenal growth in the last 6 months. But on the QCOM side, we've seen actually almost a 3x growth in the last 6 months, which was not the case the 6 months before, even though the base was smaller. So there is something going on with QCOM for sure. Uh, More cities being added, more dark stores being added within a city, the assortment increasing vis-a-vis what it was a year ago or 6 months ago.
Mayank this side. I'm from Canada Corporate. We just launched our brand, which is Hoppins Canada, and this is a whole new category in India. This category has been brought up by Chinese toys manufacturers, and they used to do it to US, to New Zealand, to Australia, or to all the developed countries, right? And me personally, I've done my studies in US, getting the learnings from there and everything, and moving back to India. Um, Kind of was the thing for me to bring something new in India. This category of candy toys, usually we are into confectionery of lollipops, candies, and toys are separately all together. So what we did was bringing all together, say the toy and the candies together, to bring some things for the kids as well as for parents. Challenge which we have faced in modern trade right now is, look, we are new players in the market, but we are the only player in the market who is actually doing this. So we see it as an opportunity as well as a challenge. We are getting sales, but the challenges we get, like, is it healthy? Are the candy is healthy? For us, the challenge has become is how do you uh, communicate it to parents or to kids that the candies what they're eating or they're healthy or not healthy. But yes, the modern trade for us has been a blessing. Like, it has been really good. Like what he said, 3 years he's been there. There was no base. Same with us. So for us, anything which we get, whatever sales we get are really good. And now we're starting with e-commerce and Q-commerce and everything now. So hopefully, what we have seen results in modern trade. But the general trade has been horrible, horrible. Maybe it's because of how people have worked in past in India, like with the whole general trend of bootlegging people and on the super stockist wise. But modern trade has been very, very transparent for all of us. So I feel like modern trade is actually for the best channel for a new companies to step in and take the advantage of it. So for us, modern trade has been really, really good.
And you mentioned a point about health, right? Whether your product is actually healthy, etc. So, what are you investing behind marketing? Are you investing behind creating awareness, educating?
What we've done is what trend we have seen outside India is the vitamin C's, jellies, which are actually good for kids. And look, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I would not want to feed sugar, sugar, sugar every time. And candies are good for when they're cranky or whatever and whatnot. But if you can give something healthier with the toy, that's just the best thing you could have. So we're working on something which will be high in energy and vitamins and everything. And once we get through with that, we'll be it's all in the packages and TV commercials, TVCs. We're working on those, but the health point of view is actually our main forte now. Come moving forward in India because that's the thing for future generation.
Hey, so I'm Mohit Rathod from Truly Desi. Again, we are a D2C brand working in dairy space. Let me take you all back to pre-COVID era when modern trade stores used to be filled with people uh, the AOVs were very high, the footfall was very high, and things changed after COVID when quick commerce came in. So quick commerce is playing the same role which maybe modern trade played about 10, 12 years back. They were helping new age brands, getting them on the shelf, trying to promote them, trying to sell them, and making a fortune out of it. And right now, what quick commerce is doing, they're doing the same. So what we can see, because we are a D2C brand, we have our own application where people come in, they subscribe for the product for a month or 3 months or 6 months. They buy it, and the subscription goes on. But now what we have seen, that there is a shift in that online space where people are shifting from D2C to quick commerce. Because if you are ordering food or FMCG product, it it's quite easier to get that product in 10 minutes rather than it would take 2 days for a company to ship it to your doorsteps. And earlier pre-COVID, the shipping costs were very high. The ecosystem was not there for specifically food industry in D2C category. But because of quick commerce, it has enabled a lot of D2C food brands to sell their products online pretty quickly. Maybe that is one of the reasons the consumer has actually shifted to quick commerce from modern trade, because they're getting more options and they're getting to see more brands on the platform. If today, maybe if COVID wouldn't have happened, and if I would have gone to any of large giants modern trade stores, they wouldn't have onboarded me as a brand, because I am not Amul, I am not Mother Dairy, I am not a very big dairy giant. So that is the difference which has played along. And I mean, consumer behavior. What we have been observing since last 4 years, that it has changed a lot. I mean, people used to go out to shop maybe on monthly basis, like he said, that in the first week they have a list of products that needs to be bought from that modern trade store, and then they go and pick up in the basket, and then they bill it, and then boom, out. Things have really changed now. Now they don't make a list and go to the stores. I mean, whenever if they feel atta khatam ho gaya hai, then let's order it online. If bread is not there, let me order it online. So the consumer behavior has changed, and if modern trade can really adapt to that consumer behavior, then they can actually get back on track. But I feel there is certain kind of consolidation that may happen in quick commerce in next 3-4 years. There would be 3 to 4 channels, not more than that, who would be actively playing across the country. Assortments would go down, because even they are burning somewhere at warehouse level and at dark store level. So that is something even they are looking at. Currently, they are in the growth stage, so they want to offer more and more brands and products to the consumers. But eventually, the consolidation will come in.
So, I hear you about the quick commerce wave. But if that was a wave, urban growths should be looking very different from how they are currently looking. I think sometimes, and it's a very common thing that all of us do, right? So we consume a certain way, so we believe that bulk of the environment or people around us, in an office, pretty much, maybe not similar, but fairly common kind of trends, right? Like I'm buying quick commerce, this person is buying on quick commerce, so you believe that the larger world is also doing the same thing. But with inflation being as high as it is, and we've seen that consumption just went down, right? Especially in the urban space. So you're seeing rural actually come back, and there's no quick commerce there in rural, right? No e-commerce there in rural. So somewhere I think we need to rewire and think, if this is a wave, then why are we seeing the urban growths go down? And then, what can we do to revive it? We are seeing consumption coming back, but what can we do to revive it? Till today, even if you look at it in whichever angle, traditional trade continues to hold sway. I hear you on the fact that it's a mess for new brands, but then there are distribution strategies that can be utilized. But I would think that TT, India is such a big market that TT, MT, and e-com can coexist peacefully and actually add to the overall growth, right? But that's the thought that I just wanted to leave, right? Because everyone is so swayed by the quick commerce wave, the e-commerce wave. Despite that, we're still seeing that urban. So something to just food for thought, nothing else.
Is it because of the high price tags or the high MRPs and the big retail chains? Yes, they have their margins. The margins are really high on them. Is it because of that the price? Because everybody wants to keep a high MRP for their own margins, and because of that, the customer is suffering at the end point. I mean, that could be the saying, but still, like most of us would agree on this part. Like what things which would have been MRP of 100 rupees, it's now probably like 200 rupees or 150, and it's because the manufacturer has to satisfy everybody who is in the loop for the whole thing, because the marketing is consolidated, the retail platform, I mean the modern trade platform is on stake. Everybody's on stake there, everybody has their own thing, and because of that, the end customer is suffering. In that manner, and in the inflation, you could see the prices of anything like home care or personal care, all the products which you used to consume, like if they used to be 500 rupees, 500 rupees, it's gone up to like 750 or 800 rupees. The end customer is the real person who's actually suffering from all this, and this could be the reason, I guess, where the end point is not being sorted.
Yeah, sure, please. Tell me one thing. In your impulse sale,
Yeah.
okay, are you mapping all the products or it's a few products alone?
No,
Because
mapping most, but now I have you because you say that yours is something that we don't
I'm
map,
not that.
right?
I'm not getting
Yeah.
into that. I'm coming
Yeah.
into a different question.
Yeah.
The gentleman over in True Wheel Desi made a mention telling all of us are not making a list and we are buying atta for the minute. Could be that a reason for a decay in urban India? Because when you go to a shop, the impulse purchase, which is non-essentials, contributes to 30-40% of your cart. Now, if quick commerce grows, will the industry tank?
Ideally not, because quick commerce also thrives on impulse, right? Some of the categories that you witness is impulse.
The cart you buy is much larger when you go.
We're talking about households, right? Households that might probably be buying atta and curd, okay? But then there is this huge Gen Z, and this is a huge mindset shift. There is also an entire generation that's living very differently, where even a bottle of water is being ordered on quick commerce. A pack of chips. I'm having a party, so let me just get some tonic water and soda, right? And those are all impulse categories, like short eats for my party,
See,
right?
what is happening is we are taking a myopic look at the M into N. We are taking a large number of Gen Zs and taking the M into no consideration. The larger shopping is done by the households, okay? And if they are shifting to possibly the quick commerce, we will see a decay into M into N.
But that is my larger question, right? Are they really shifting into quick commerce?
That's happening, and that's the urban decay which you see, hypothetically.
I think that's why you need to buy our data to understand more. Right? I'm going to leave it at that.
Market is so big. The market is so big. The retail market is so big that you will have consumers for every channel.
I agree.
What we have seen is, there's a big shift in e-commerce D2C space. Specifically for dairy, because if I'm ordering 60 rupees ka dahi online from a D2C brand, of course it will deliver it to me next day in the morning, but I want it today. I want it within 10 minutes. I want to have paratha with that dahi. So I will go on quick commerce. So I feel it completely depends on the category you are ordering. So, and what I would like to add one thing to what he said. Quick commerce is actually promoting impulse buying, because me, even I'm one of the customers of quick commerce, and I even go to empty stores once a month with my family. So what I have seen is, if I want free delivery, I need to purchase for about 199 or 299 odd rupees to get free delivery from that quick commerce platform. But my need is just a toothpaste which costs 150 rupees. So I will be doing impulse buying then. I'll be asking my wife, अरे और कुछ चाहिए क्या घर में? Do we need anything else? अच्छा ये भी है. अच्छा chocolate खरीद लेते हैं. Let's add this. Let's add that to the cart. Now consumer is trying to make that delivery cost zero. It doesn't matter whether the customer needs that product or not. I want to make that cost zero. That has become the whole scenario right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, modern trade has doesn't have this problem, because people they normally go in the shop and then buy it. So this is something which is really happening these days.
Hi, I'm going to digress a little bit now from quick commerce. I represent Plix. I'm the chief product officer of Plix. We're a nutraceutical, we're a plant-based brand that spans across nutraceuticals, personal care, food. I'm going to address a few things. Growth is one, channel and channel capabilities is the other. Growth. And just again for context, see, we've netted about 100 crore plus in the last 3 months. So I don't want to see the ARR because I know we all live by that. But I'll just tell you the net of the last 3 months. So we're in a space where we are competing with 2,200 crore brands as well, the health cards of the world. And I can tell you this, I can guarantee you this, that there is tremendous growth, even at this particular scale. But however, what has happened is, again, contextualizing product strategy, speaking of the likes of Health Card or Plix, you have to, people are reinventing, brands are reinventing themselves in terms of product strategy. So you're seeing new product categories being launched by brands you've consumed for different products. Again, look at Health Card, look at Plix, look at a bunch of Oziva, look at a bunch of other brands. Man Matters, Mosaic Wellness, all our competitors, basically. Same time last year, we netted about 30 crores over 3 months. If we've done 100 crores over the last 3 months, so I can guarantee you there is sufficient growth in the market, number one. Number two, coming to channel capabilities. See, now this is very interesting, and I'm also learning a lot here. The first part, I can speak with a lot more confidence. The second bit is we are, we've been majority acquired by Marico. And, who better than, in terms of channel capabilities than Marico. So when that happened, we were like, oh, this is perfect. Offline sales abhi aise ud jayega hawe mein. And, we did the basic hygiene, which is, we very, very selectively chose products that we thought would do well in GT. And we gave Marico those products. And honestly, we saw like 3 lakhs of sales in 4 months. And Marico came back to us, and see, the challenge is that while even a large group like Marico has immense channel capabilities, they have limitations of what they're able to push through those channels. And I think that's why I keep going back to product strategy, very, very important. What you push is very important. So our most successful product, which is not a very big number via Marico's distribution, which is GT, which is a very small fraction of what we do, is coconut water powder. That's sort of the only product they're able to push. There's a fairly, good price arbitrage that the retailer gets. The shopkeeper gets. You buy a coconut water for 70 rupees actually today, and we sell ours for 20 rupees. So, there's advantages there. So again, you got to be smart about product strategy, but channel capabilities, not like if Marigo can't push it, then you got to be very realistic about who can. Third, I'll give you my 2 bits on quick commerce, is that there's 2 sides of it. One is consumer behavior, and the second is obviously the category development, there's private equity money flowing into it and all of that. category behavior is that in this room more so, I think everybody is quite cognizant that we are selling in habitual and instant satisfaction categories. So the level of aspiration is not really like, oh wow, I'm dying to buy this brand. You know, it's not that. It's honestly serving a very different functional purpose in the customer's life. Something either they think of habitually, either, you know, with a weekly or a monthly frequency, or like everybody said, you know, spontaneously. When it comes to assortment strategies by Zepto, by Swiggy, and all of that, they are really struggling to break out of habitual and instant satisfaction categories. Because what does everybody want to build is a higher ticket price, basically, right? Because the number of transactions don't grow that tremendously unless you're going into newer markets, rural markets, whatever it may be, right? And obviously, this is just a mega metro phenomena still. So their a Zepto or a Swiggy, their assortment strategy or their brand category managers are like, yeah, let's look for brands that will help solve the problem of ticket size. So let's get this one big Nutra guy. You know, let's try and sell a whey protein. They even tried selling a PlayStation and one PlayStation, and they sold it actually. So this is an ongoing experiment by the quick com channels to see if they can break the barriers of AOV by bringing in newer types of product concepts. But again, yes, right? Now, coming to consumer behavior, obviously, look, COVID era was different where Quickcom took off because for maybe 5% more expenses, we were all okay to have the convenience of everything delivered. You know, I talk to at least like 20 customers every week, and people have moved out of Swiggy, Instamart, and they've moved on to potentially other platforms like Kisan Connect and everybody else, whoever's giving the price benefit. So brand power aside, which obviously a brand power can carry some amount of premiumization in Quickcom, we have to be realistic that in our categories, we're solving a functional purpose of nutrition. And I'm saying that as a 70% GM brand, that even I'm very realistic about what value I provide, you know, in terms of health benefits. So if you're selling vegetables, we have to be realistic about, you know, how much it will be premiumized either by the channel or by the brand, and of course then put in the inputs accordingly. So just sharing my insights and outlook on this. Just one additional insight on MT is doing well for us, far better than what Marico is doing in GT for us. And let me tell you, we've been very selective about our product selection that we put out. If you've heard of Plix, you've heard of ACV. So, you know, we put out only ACV initially. And we said, let the hero sell. Our ACV sells the most on Myntra also, for some reason. So my point is like, if you've got a hero, go in with that hero, because you may think it doesn't marry the channel, but it will actually. And we started very smaller base, smaller regions and all of that. And now we're very slowly scaling it up, and we're focusing on our combo strategy. So initially we used to put 4 products just like that. Then we noticed that what we've been doing in D2C forever, which is on our website, we've never sold a single ACV tube. We've always sold a pack of 4 for 1,300 rupees, always. We noticed, and me and Rishabh were discussing, I said, we are selling in personal care a serum, a face wash, a cream all separately. Let's put it together in a box and sell it. Why this, headache of decision making for the customer? We tried an experiment with 3,000 of those, and it's moved out in 30 days. So my point being, I think product selection and product strategy is going to play an incredibly large role in all types of channels going forward, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's what came out in the survey as well, right? I mean, and you can't have a one size fit all across channels, in fact, product rationalization becomes key. And I think if you fail in certain things, you have to remove it fast so that the retailer is also encouraged to keep your new launches as and when they come. I think those are learnings that we've also seen. But for more, I think we are on time actually. I mean, do we have, no? Okay, sorry. So we are on time. So thank you so much. We are here. The NIQ team is here in case any of you want to, come and talk to us, know more. There is data that actually gives you a lot of insights on some of what you've already discussed. And a lot of you don't know, but we do have an e-commerce read that's out. We are going to come out with an omni-channel read as well, starting next year. So do come and talk to us. You might not want to buy anything, but what's the harm in having a conversation? So we are there, our booth is there. Some of us are going to be around here. So please do come by and have a conversation. Thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you so much.